I'm Chef Frank, this is Protocooks, and today we're making fresh mozzarella. Fresh mozzarella is a thing of beauty. If you've never made it yourself, I urge you to try. It is beautiful, right? On Long Island, they call it mozzarella, they call it mutz, but it's really just mozzarella. I first learned to make fresh mozzarella in culinary school, and there were many years that I didn't make it. And then kind of like 10, 15 years into my career, I started making it more and more. And I developed a technique, and that's what we're working with today. It's less of a recipe and more of a technique. I tell my students all the time to watch what I do. You know, as a chef, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have like a lot of muscle memory about how I do things. So there's a lot of unspoken stuff as I move my hands, as I choose the equipment I choose, that can be picked up just by watching. The main ingredient for a fresh mozzarella is mozzarella curd. I bought mine at a local Italian deli. A lot of times your local Italian deli will have it available. You just gotta ask. They just don't sell it on the counter. They have it in the back. What is mozzarella curd? Basically, they take the milk, they put some sort of acid in it, and the curd separates from the whey. The whey is the liquid part, the curd is the solid part of the milk. You can make your own curd as well, but that's a whole other episode. We're just getting into the technique of how to make this, stretch this mozzarella so you have nice, soft, creamy mozzarella. Before we start, I want to make sure I've gathered all my mise en place, everything I need for the process. On the stove, I have my water coming up to a boil. I have my commercial plastic wrap. I have gloves because it gets really hot. I have some clean kitchen towels, salt, a wooden spoon, and some ice. I'm gonna put some water in this in a little while. Let's talk about the spoon really quick. I have tried to make this with anything other than a wooden spoon, and I've used plastic spatulas and they break. Or if I've used a metal spoon, the metal kind of digs into your hand and it hurts. So find yourself a really nice strong wooden spoon for this. First thing I'm going to do is put my water on the fire and just get it to come to a simmer. The next thing we want to do is break our curd up. I like to make my mozzarella with cold curd. So the bowl is cold, the mozzarella curd is cold, and I just break it up into like, I like to say like quarter-sized pieces, right? I'm just going to break it up, and I'm going to keep this cold until my water is ready. So I want small chunks. If you have big chunks like this, it's not going to melt when you add your hot water. So we want to make sure that we break it up into small chunks. It doesn't have to be perfectly even, but you want it to be kind of like that size. So I just shred it. I get into it with my hands and I shred it up. What I'm going to do is, while my water is coming to a boil, I'm going to put this back in the fridge and keep it chilled. All right, so my water has come to a boil. I do not want this water to be boiling when I put it on top of my curd. I want it to be about 180 degrees Fahrenheit, just off the boil, okay? I'll put the Celsius numbers down in the description so that anyone that's using Celsius will have the right temperatures. I want my water to be seasoned. I'm gonna add a bunch of salt to this, and I want it to be sea salty, okay? Sea salty means if you've never been to the ocean, it's saltier than you can stand, okay? How do you tell if it's sea salty? You get your Star Wars spoon and you taste. It's not pleasant, right? But we want our mozzarella to be seasoned and be salty and creamy. We want to have plenty of salt in the water because it's our one opportunity to season our mozzarella and make sure that it's not bland. Now that our water is kind of at the right temperature, I get my mozzarella curd out, and the curd is, like I said, chilled and it's cold. And what I'm going to do is add my water, just to cover the curd. Okay, I just want to cover it. I'm going to give it a quick stir. I find that this gets the temperature to be just right. If the curd is cold and the water's just off the boil, you get a really good temperature to work it with. If you put water that's too hot in here, what's going to happen is the mozzarella curd is going to squeeze together. All of the fat and the cream is going to come out of it, and in the end you're going to have a dry, kind of rubbery mozzarella rather than a like smooth and creamy one. So I'm just going to mix this up just to start, you know, making sure that it gets hot. I have extra hot water if I need it, just in case this gets too cold, right? I try to do this on a wooden cutting board or on a towel so that like I have a marble countertop, and that's going to pull a lot of the heat away, and I want it to try and stay as warm as possible. You can do this in a metal bowl or in a glass bowl, that's fine. But for the most part, I just want my curd to start to get hot, and I want to have the option to add more water to it later if it starts to cool off. So now we just wait. I'm going to leave it alone for a few minutes, And once it starts to melt, we'll start to stretch. There's a lot of different factors too, right? How big is your bowl? How much mozzarella curd do you have? Is your bowl shallow or deep, right? There's a lot of different variables here. You kind of have to play with it. I have about 2.5 pounds of curd, and I probably have close to a gallon of water in there right now. And it's probably gonna take like, 4 or 5 minutes for this to start to get warm. Like I said, I will always have a little extra water in case I need it, but you can start to see that it's starting to get a little stretchy, okay? I'm gonna give it another stir. Right, it's already cooling off, so I'm going to make sure that I put a little more water on it and keep it hot. Right, it's going to get a little messy, but that's okay. And now this is when I'm going to start to stretch it and bring it together. So you see, right now it's really lumpy, but it's starting to come together and it's going to start to stretch. And basically what I want to do when I stretch is not pull it out of the water too long, because I don't want it to cool off, but I want the lumps to go away. I want this to get nice and smooth. It's going to come together in one big kind of bunch, but I also want it to start to get smooth. So that's where the stretching comes in. And that's why you need a really strong spoon for this. Try not to keep it out of the water for too long. The water should be uncomfortably hot. If you can keep your hands in there for too long, it is not hot enough, okay? I always tell my students that you want it to be a little uncomfortable. But you can see that it's starting to come together. If there's any big lumps, I try and squeeze them out. But for the most part, I just want this to come together. I let it stretch. I let it pull. You see I'm getting that nice stretch to it now. Oh my goodness, right? And basically all I'm trying to do is get all the lumps out. You can see at the top of my water, if this was overcooked or if it was too hot, you'd see kind of a yellow film on top. But I think I have the right temperature here. This takes a little bit of practice, but once you kind of get it down, the people around you will be like, hey, when are you making mozzarella again? And they'll be really excited every time you do. Just kind of let it fall. If there's any lumps, you can break the lumps up, but that's basically what I'm trying to do, is get it to stretch. So now that we're kind of getting it nice and smooth, right, you can see I'm getting that nice stretchiness to it. I can start to ball it up, right? It's time to ball this up. I'm wearing gloves just to kind of keep me insulated from the heat a little. And what I'm going to do is I grab my big chunk of mozzarella, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start forming balls. And this is how I do it. I take it, I'm tucking it under itself. So I'm folding and folding under, right? And once I get it to a nice ball, I give it a pinch, and it goes into my ice water. The ice water there is just to set the ball. It's still going to be hot in the middle. So I'm tucking under here, tuck, 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 right? And then I'm going to give it a good pinch and drop it in my water. Just get in the water, grab it. Ooh. So it's a little hot, it's a little uncomfortable, but that's okay. I just form it into a ball, tuck to it, tuck it under, and once I get a nice ball, I give it a good pinch and a hard squeeze right into the water, and then I have a ball, my last ball. I'm going to try and get it as nice as possible. Okay, it makes a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. Put it into your ice water, and now we have to wrap it. So it's only been in the ice water for maybe a half a minute at this point. I get some plastic wrap. I pull it out onto my board. I try and get the first ball. I'm just going to dab it off. I'm going to put it into plastic wrap, and I'm going to give it a good twist. Okay? And this is how it keeps its shape. If I take this out of the water and put it onto a plate, it starts to slump and fall down. So I dab the water off, goes into my plastic wrap, and it gets a really good twist to form my mozzarella balls. Right? Dab it off. Twist really good. So now we have our balls and they're formed really well. And that's it. That's how you make mozzarella. Let's plate this up and give it a taste. Okay, it's time to taste. I'm just gonna grab the one off the front, right? So a good mozzarella should be salty, creamy, soft, kind of milky, right? When you cut into it, it should be juicy, okay? So let's cut into this and see how we did. Look at it. Oh my goodness, you see that? When I squeeze it, there's juice coming out. That is a good fresh mozzarella, right? Let's cut a piece. It's still warm. The ice water was just there to set it. It's got a pleasant chew. It's salty. It's creamy. It's warm. Fresh mozzarella is something that you make and then you consume right away. You can put it in the fridge. It's still going to be delicious, and you can use it for a variety of other things. Put it on pizzas. You can still put it into a salad, but you're not going to keep that soft, creamy texture of when it's first stretched. And that's my fresh mozzarella method. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell to get notifications when we have a new video. We have merch in the link down below. I want to thank my Patreon patrons for helping us out. It's much appreciated. We also have a P.O. box down in the description. And that's it, fresh mozzarella. I'm Chef Frank, this is Protocooks. Enjoy.